In the beginning, when the voids of nothingness yet lingered, the great Jehovah, the Lord of all that is and ever shall be, spoke. And by the breath of his mouth the heavens were wrought, the stars kindled, and the hosts of creation summoned into being. Let there be, he declared, and the firmament stood fast, its foundations laid eternal, unyielding as the will of its Maker. Thus was the earth born, a jewel of surpassing beauty, cradled in the hands of the divine. Picture now that primal earth unmarred by time or shadow. Its countenance was fair, adorned with rolling plains, gentle hills, and mountains crowned with verdant majesty. No jagged peaks or chasms grim scarred its surface. The rocky bones of the world lay cloaked in fruitful soil, where life burgeoned in endless bounty. Rivers noble and clear wound through vales where delicate flowers and graceful shrubs bloomed in profusion. Trees, more majestic than any that now stand, lifted their boughs to the heavens, and the air, pure as the breath of angels, bore no taint of decay. The landscape, radiant and unspoiled, surpassed the finest gardens of mortal kings, and the angelic host, gazing upon this work, sang with joy at the wonders of God's hand. Into this Eden, the crowning glory of creation was set. Man, fashioned in the very image of God, a being of lofty stature and perfect symmetry. Adam, first of his kind, bore the ruddy glow of life, his countenance alight with joy and vigor. Beside him stood Eve, noble in form, her beauty a reflection of divine craftsmanship. Clothed not in mortal raiment, but in a mantle of light, like unto the angels, they walked in harmony with the will of their Creator. No mystery clouds their origin, no creeping evolution from lesser forms diminishes their dignity. From the dust they came, yet they were sons and daughters of God, imbued with his likeness in both form and spirit. Yet the great Creator, in his boundless wisdom, deemed it not good for man to dwell alone. From Adam's side was fashioned Eve, bone of his bone, flesh of his flesh, a companion equal in dignity to stand beside him in love and unity. Their union, the first marriage, was ordained by God himself, a sacred bond to guard the purity and joy of the race. In this holy rite the Creator wove a tapestry of fellowship, that man and woman might find in each other the fulfillment of their social nature, and in their love a reflection of divine affection. To this blessed pair was given a home, a garden eastward in Eden, planted by the hand of God. Here grew trees of every kind, their branches heavy with fragrant fruit, and vines that wove bowers of living green. At the garden's heart stood the tree of life, its golden and silver fruits gleaming with the promise of eternal vitality. No shadow of death touched this paradise, no taint of sin marred its splendor. The morning stars sang together, and the sons of God shouted for joy, for the heavens and the earth were finished, and all was very good. And so on the seventh day God ended his work which he had made, and he rested on the seventh day from all his work which he had made. The Sabbath was hallowed, a day of rest and spiritual reflection, a memorial of creation's completion. In this divine pause, man was invited to enter into a rhythm of labor and repose, to remember his origins, and to worship the Creator who had fashioned him from the dust and breathed into his nostrils the breath of life. Thus the Sabbath became a perpetual sign of God's covenant with humanity, a sanctuary in time where the soul could find peace and renewal. Yet, though created holy and upright, Adam and Eve were not beyond the reach of choice. Free moral agents they were, endowed with the liberty to obey or to stray. In the midst of Eden stood the tree of knowledge, a test of their faith and love. Forbidden to taste its fruit, they were to prove their loyalty through obedience. The Creator, who might have fashioned them as automatons, chose instead to grant them freedom, for without choice there is no true devotion. Obedience, perfect and perpetual, was the key to their eternal joy, and access to the tree of life, their promised reward. To the holy pair was given also the care of Eden, to dress and keep its gardens. And so the holy pair dwelt in Eden, their hearts attuned to the harmony of creation. Their labor was no burden, but a blessing bestowed by the Creator, who in his infinite wisdom appointed work as a source of joy and strength. Not for idleness was man made, but for the ennobling of his mind and body through stewardship of the earth. The garden, with its living bowers and fruitful vines, was their charge, and in its care they found delight, their hands shaping beauty from the gifts of God. The lion and the lamb, the eagle and the sparrow, all answered to their gentle rule, and the earth itself seemed to sing in chorus with their praises to the Father and the Son. Yet in the midst of this unshadowed bliss a subtle test was set. For though the Creator had fashioned man upright, with noble traits and no bent toward evil, he granted him the perilous gift of freedom. Near the tree of life, radiant with its golden promise, stood the tree of knowledge, its fruit forbidden by divine command. This was the trial of their loyalty, the measure of their love. Obedience to the will of God would secure their eternal communion with him, while disobedience would bring death, a shadow yet unknown in the fair light of Eden. The great Jehovah, who might have bound their wills to his, chose instead to make them free. For love coerced is no love at all, and obedience forced is but a chain. Thus was man placed under law, not as a burden, but as the very essence of his being. With law there is true governance, a harmony of purpose. The Creator, who set the starry worlds in their ceaseless dance and balanced the clouds upon the breath of the wind, ordained that man should walk in joyful submission to his sovereign will. For in this joyful submission lay the path to unending joy, to the ever-deepening knowledge of the divine, and to the boundless love that flows from the heart of God. The tree of knowledge stood as a sentinel, a reminder that even in paradise, the heart joyfully chooses the good. In their joyous communion with the works of God, Adam and Eve discovered endless springs of wisdom and delight, the wonders of the visible world, the magnificent works of him who is perfect in knowledge, unveiled themselves to their eager minds. They conversed with leaf and flower, with beast and bird, joyfully learning the secrets of each life. The heavens themselves joyously declared the glory of God, the stars tracing his wisdom in their silent revolutions. The balancings of the clouds, the interplay of light and sound, the rhythm of day and night, all joyfully spoke of the Creator's power. Upon every stone and leaf, in every shining star, the name of God was beautifully written, and the holy pair, with hearts full of joy, read therein the beautiful story of his love. By staying true to the divine law, their capacity for knowledge, joy, and love would endlessly flourish. New treasures of understanding awaited them, fresh springs of happiness bubbled forth, and clearer visions of God's boundless love illuminated their souls. The garden was their school, the Creator their loving teacher, and the angels their joyful companions. Filled with the vigor imparted by the tree of life, their minds were nearly as brilliant as those of the heavenly host, and their hearts overflowed with gratitude for the countless gifts of their Maker. Thus was the home of our first parents, a beautiful pattern for all homes to come. No towering palace did they desire, for their dwelling was the magnificent work of God's own hand. The blue heavens were their splendid dome, the living green their vibrant floor, and the leafy branches their serene canopy. Adorned with the master artist's exquisite handiwork, their garden revealed a timeless truth, that true happiness blossoms not in pride or luxury, but in joyful communion with God through his wondrous creations. Let men cherish God, their Creator, for therein lies the path to true fulfillment, the joy that surpasses all pride and ambition. And so creation's dawn concludes, yet its echoes joyfully resound through the ages. The earth, radiant in beauty, the man and woman crafted in divine likeness, and the Sabbath blessed as a joyful memorial of God's mighty work. These are the joyful foundations of our world. The great Jehovah, who spoke and it was done, who commanded and it stood fast, has set before us a vision of his boundless love and wisdom. Let us, like Adam and Eve in their sinless glory, turn our hearts to the joyful contemplation of his works, and let our voices join the morning stars in songs of everlasting praise.